It's after midnight, and it's time for conversations about love, family, friends, sex, and life. It's Love and Life with Carol Riddick and Donavan West, only on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
What's going on, great people?
Hello there, family. Hello there,
Look at you. Listen. You beaming already. You know what this convo is about to be about.
I do.
Right?
I do. And I have it. Well, first of all, family.
Hello
and
right?
Welcome to Love and Life on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, on air and online at wordradio.com. That's WURDradio.com. So you hear that. We are your beloveds, Carol Riddick and Donavan West, and you hear him, family, going in already.
I'm not going in. You already know what. You know the conversation is about to go down. You know what we about to talk about. That's why we hype.
He's excited. You're hype.
You hype. We are hyped, by the way. We are excited. The first reason why we're excited is to be before you, first of all, because we love you, WURD family. We do. And thank you so much for your time, your attention, for your feedback, right? For hitting us up via email and letting us know what you think and other topics you would like for us to cover. And for those that are able to watch us, also, we want to say thank you for tuning in that way, right? Checking us out on our socials, as Carol loves to say.
Yes, on our socials. And I want to say thank you, too, for communicating with us on our socials. I know that we listen. We love the comments that you leave us. We love, that you really are talking with us. That means so much. It means so much. The communication goes so far. So
you know what? It means you're paying attention. And at this hour, we don't know. And thank you for leaving the evidence.
No. It's not just as the show airs, because family, now because we talk with you throughout the day. But because our episodes live on the internet, people comment as they see them. So it doesn't matter. Whenever you comment, because we talk with you. We communicate. We don't talk. We communicate with you on our social.
I want them to listen late, though. Some of these topics, like this one, it just has a different kind of to it.
Hits different.
It hits different. It hits different when when it's on the late night side of things. But I'm not going to let the cat out the bag. No pun intended. I'm just saying. Anyway, listen, there's all kinds of, second and third little, entendres, so to speak. But we're going to keep it moving, right? We have our guest. This is a good friend of mine out here in the business community and all types of communities, actually, by the way, in terms of, helping the community. Good brother, very informative, very professional. But we're not just going to keep it there. We're not.
I don't think we're going there at all.
We're not. We're not. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring on our good friend, okay, Mr. RBH, right?
Ooh.
Robert Bruce Hill. We're going to bring him into the space. And then when we do that, right, we're going to talk for about maybe 3.5 minutes on some business stuff.
That's what we're going to do. 3 minutes, that's it. Family, welcome.
Wait.
Robert Bruce Hill. Wait. Well, the funny thing is he's about 3 minutes. So you only get to talk about your professional life for about 3 minutes. Okay, that's what Donavan has allotted.
We will provide more than enough time, for a very formal, professional introduction. Right. So right now, let's first welcome you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It's been a long time.
Glad to be here on the late night. And the night owl.
Now, before we go any further, do you care to share with our audience just a little bit about you as a professional in this space?
Sure, Donovan. Carol, again, thank you for having me. So I am a funeral director. By day, I'm also a business consultant by way of the world of accounting, and audit. And my focus is providing small business owners with sound business practices, in accounting world. I think one of the things, that I've learned from working in corporate America is the importance of financial literacy, sustainability of Black businesses. So combining that experience that I have in corporate America with small businesses, but then also on the funeral side, I've been in the funeral industry for 19 years. That was actually my first job. I had an experience when I was 12 years old with, a family member who passed away. Didn't recognize them, and I said I have to change that, and which led to me, being a funeral director. And when I always say to people, hey, I'm a business consultant as well as a funeral director, first thing they always say, well, they don't go together. And I'm like, well, they're not supposed to go together to you, but they suit me very well. So that's my little professional background.
You know what? I like it. And for those who said if they don't go together, they do. If they don't listen to you, then they're going to see you sooner than later. Okay.
One way or another. One way or another.
There it is. There it is. You give sound advice so that they avoid the dude with the, the hook. That's
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know, Carol.
Thank you. Wait,
I didn't mean to go downer like that, but on the bright side of things, right? I think when you think about the community, it's brought me close to the community because your funeral director or your business consultant, people are coming to you for advice on a number of different topics.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that didn't bring me down at all. I'm familiar. I have some familiarity with the life of a funeral director. I have a friend who is a funeral director, and I grew up half a block away from a funeral home, and my family was very close with that family.
Okay.
So it's always been of interest to me, though, living the life of a funeral director. But you have so many other dynamics. So, but I'm sorry, have we gone over the 3.5 minutes?
I
don't know. I think
it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine because the thing is, we talk about navigating as a professional, right?
Mm-hmm,
and I think it's important, especially when we talk about love and life, that we also include a Black male professional who's single when it comes to navigating the space. We don't often have those conversations, so I'm excited because we've had conversations outside of this space,
okay,
and it's good to bring it into this space now and have it because
you saw me. Wait a minute.
It's important, Donovan. I'm glad that you just said that, right? Because the conversations that need to be had aren't held in the right forums.
Okay,
bringing it here.
That's it. That's what we're.
You two had an agenda, clearly. What family? Let me tell you this, okay? Because we have had, single, intelligent, productive, hardworking men as guests, Black men and men of color on our show. But I see that we have an angle tonight. But I'm here for it. I'm here for
Bruce,
this angle.
Did I say we didn't? I said we don't have enough.
No, you're absolutely right. But the point was never made. The point was never made. So I'm just giving some clarity. Yeah. Excuse you, sir. Don't
hashtag not enough.
There it is. Thank you. Thank you.
I thought it was interesting that he made the point with you as our guest. That's what I find of interest, but I'm here for it. I appreciate it because you're absolutely right. I applaud you and your accomplishments and your efforts. And I know, quite honestly, I did not know enough about you. And having read the information that was provided to me about you prior to the show, I said, wait a minute, we definitely do need to talk to this gentleman here because first of all, I don't know when you sleep. You have so much that you do and so much going on. And you're talking about a single life. Well, I mean, how do you date and manage all of your responsibilities?
Well, I think, that's one of the challenges of, number one, I think just being a professional Black man, right? Professional Black man has so many different responsibilities and you don't have that opportunity to say, hey, I've got to sit these professional responsibilities to the side because you want to make sure that you're staying up on, return and staying, above the curve. What I've always tried to do is make sure that, whoever it is that I'm dating, that they understand the type of life and the type of career, that I have. And to, always to make it a point that you are never in competition with what I have going on professionally. Mm-hmm. However, there are times when that what we might have planned might not work out at that moment, only because, I've got to take care of something professionally. And I'm going to go ahead and say this, right? every woman wants a professional man or a man who has something to bring to the table. So there has to be some give and take, right? So if we want to be able to go and have fun and do all these other things, you got to allow for me to have my space to go and make the money and to make the connections that I need so that you can benefit from the fruits of these labors. And when I say the fruits of these labors, it's not always monetary, but it's the connections that open up other doors for you too. That we
Did
can
I
both
not say there
benefit
was an
from.
angle? Did
Boom.
I
What are you
not
talking
say
about? That
there was an
just
agenda? Did I
listen.
not
That
say?
was not
He
an
came out the
agenda.
gate. Every woman. What I said? Oh, okay. What do we all want? What do we
You know
want?
what?
What is
Hold
it?
on. Do
What
you, do
is
you
it?
want?
What do we all
Carol,
want?
I'm just
I mean,
saying.
no. I want to educate me. Listen,
Do
I'm
you want
here
my
to be
pen?
educated.
Do you
No, I
want
do
my
not.
pen? No.
I am my own.
Okay. All right.
But
All right.
tell me. He said every woman. When I tell
Karen,
you,
the reason why I say every, right?
mhm,
One of the first questions that always comes up, well, what does the man do? Folks are looking for something that kind of like sticks out. What is it, about that man? That's not
mhm,
a not to anyone who doesn't have anything going on.
mhm.
But I think women like to brag on what their man has going on. But if you're going to be bragging about
Oh,
something, that means he has a lot of commitment and responsibility that's connected with his being too.
I don't know
Donovan, am
who
I right
these
about that
women
or am
are.
I
Well,
wrong?
you're asking
No,
another
no, yeah.
man, but
I
you're
mean,
talking
because
to a woman.
I think
You're
Carolyn was
talking
just
to a
shaking her
woman.
head.
Well, you're asking another man, and you're talking about what women, but I'm not that woman because what happens with
Mm.
me and my man stays with me and my man.
You
But
saw the
I'm not
finger action for those
bragging.
who are watching, by the
I'm not
way.
doing
When
that.
that finger
I'm
gets
not doing
busy when
that.
she's talking,
Mhm.
yo, you
You
already know
Donovan,
listen.
she's
I think Carol's finger been busy the whole time since we've been on the past 10 minutes.
It
So
facts,
sure has.
facts,
Oh, it
facts.
has. It has. I've had to put it down. Like, stop it. Listen. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and you know what? And I understand what you're saying though, because you're talking about a certain type of woman or something, some things that some women like, not all. So, I'm not about to shoot everything you say down, but I will say, I
Mm.
will speak on the things that don't apply to me.
Okay, she's okay. So hashtag not me though. Okay, all right.
Not
not
me
not
now.
not me, not enough. Carol, I see
Yeah,
where you're
I'm
going.
not. Yeah.
I
I
see
see.
where you're going with this.
It's okay,
No, no,
but I
no, no,
think.
no. I am applauding you. Let me tell you something. In
Hmm.
all fairness and honesty, because every time we have a woman of color who is successful, and I'm always like, yes, girl power, girl power. Well, I am the same way about our men. I love you. I love all of you, and I applaud you and appreciate you. So I don't even want it to appear that is not from where I come. But as it pertains to this subject matter, to talking about being single, it's just interesting to me to hear your point of view because you sound like this. There's one particular type of woman about which you're speaking. Now I'm talking
Let
to
me just.
Bruce. I'm
I
talking to
know,
Bruce.
but guess what? That's why we both on the show. So we both gonna talk here. We both gonna
No.
on this topic. Yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this.
Mm-mm,
Uh,
mm-mm, mm-mm.
look
I'm
at you.
talking to
Look.
Bruce about his point of view. But
No,
if
I
you
know, but
share it, if you
no, no,
share,
no. I'm
do
not.
you share it?
I share the point of view from what he's actually sharing. He's saying, right,
Mm-hmm,
that what comes along with what that man does, right?
mm-hmm,
Whether he does one thing or he does four things. For everything that he does, there's a set of responsibilities, relationships, tasks, things of nature that takes his time, right? So he needs
mm-hmm.
the time and the space to actually be able to do that versus just having a title. And really, it's not. It's all false, right? So for a person of
Agreed.
purpose, they just need those other things that come with it. And for a woman who's looking to experience, the fruits of that, right? There's fruits and there's time, right? There's gifts and time, right? There's money and time. Typically, we always talk about when you have money, you typically don't have that much time, or if you got all the time in the world, you typically don't have that much money, right? So we're always in pursuit of some kind of balance of, some of those fruits and the time to actually enjoy it, right? So I think sometimes it comes down to, do you know all that it takes for these fruits? That's all, right?
But
And
again, you're
are we
talking about a certain type
communicating
of
that thing?
person.
Absolutely, absolutely. But
Yeah.
he's
But that was
sharing
to
that
what I
a
was
lot of,
speaking.
yeah. But I think a lot of women, right? A lot of women, not all women, because I don't think it's an all thing at all. There's no
Mm-mm.
way it could be. But I think a lot of women, right? When we even get into normal, just regular conversations, right? Usually the first or second question is, "What do you do?" Right?
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm,
I do think
mm-hmm.
that same thing carries into a conversation that women may have amongst each other in terms of what does he do. So that being high up there in the priority, right? Speaking to that, I think is what what Bruce is bringing up, and I do agree with that perspective.
Well, you're talking about a certain demographic, though, and now when I'm talking with friends of mine, first of all, I'm not really that open
I want to
about
hear about this other demographic.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm about to tell you. I'm about to tell
I'm gonna
you.
sit back.
Okay,
I'm gonna watch that finger.
About to tell you. You
You
wait
watch
for
the
this
thing.
finger. Yeah, you wait for that
Wait.
finger. But no, well, let me just say, as it pertains to me, okay, both fingers, me. So I don't talk a lot to my female friends about any man with whom I have involvement. But and you know what? I think I was raised that way. Like I had far more women. My mother was one of 6 girls. There were 6 girls and 2 boys, and my aunts, my grandmother, everybody was always like, you don't do that. That's what we don't do. That's what we won't do. Donovan, I might talk to you first about a man with whom I have involvement before I talk to a female friend. And again, that's just been because of the way that I was raised. But I'm not sitting and talking to my female friends. Yeah, girl, he does this and he does. No.
Well, here's a question, Carol. Do you think it's more of a demographic or a certain group of individuals versus just a stage in a person's journey, right? So, do you think that amongst a more mature audience, that now becomes something that is a lesson learned and now applied versus a mindset from the gate?
I can't say that because I didn't do it when I was younger. I didn't date much. Well, I haven't dated much, I will say that. But no, that was instilled very young. I mean, very young. First of all, I was delegated to the step. So when I the first guy that I did date, if he drove up, don't you move from that step. If I was sitting outside, wait, don't you move because he will park, he will get out, and he will come to get you. And there were just certain things. There were a whole lot of other things. And for me, it wasn't from my own learned behavior or mistakes that I made. It was from, like I said, how I was raised, things that were taught to me, and things that have just worked. Yeah, I'm not the person. I'm not a. I have girlfriends, but I'm not that girl. I'm not her. I'm not the one like, yeah, we're going to sit and chit and chat and talk about men.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been her.
Carol, I appreciate that perspective. And let me tell you why. I've never heard that from a woman's perspective, that I don't talk about whoever I have involvement with, or, at least, always hear they might have one good girlfriend or even one cousin who they might share their experiences with. But for you not to do that, I think, number one, I think I like that, right? Because I think that's how it should be. Because, when you go around and you meet a woman's friends, you don't want them to know too much about what y'all have going on. But however, I think from my experiences, it's the quite opposite, whether if it's the good, the bad, or the indifferent. At least someone in that crew knows, and or that group chat. Your name is in somebody's group chat somewhere, whether it's girlfriends or the cousins, or even in a therapy session.
How old are these women? That's the question that I have.
I think it goes without saying that all age groups. I mean, right? Because
I'm curious to know.
But I'm just saying. But age is really, in my humble opinion, it really is just a number. It does increase or may in certain instances decrease our level of frustration with someone when we find out an age as a way to use as a shield, right? You're like,
no,
you're that age. Okay, that's all right.
No, that's not for the reason I asked, but I am curious to know. I'm definitely curious to know because some of the things you talk about, they're just not of and I get it. Age is just a number. I get that. I get it because we're all human, and we like you said, some people. Some of their experience do come from learned behavior. So I get that, but I am curious to know because the two of you may have a type or a certain like age group that you stay within. And I'm curious to know if, this behavior or for lack of another way of saying it.
I can tell you that is, at least from my experience, when you say like the range, I've dated women that are, 10, 15 years my senior. I've dated women that are 15, 10, 15 years younger than me before. And I think that at the end of the day, it's really the mindset Like, period.
Agreed.
Just a person's mindset. And and when I said the whole point about like managing, levels of frustration, right? Sometimes I know I would catch myself saying, well, okay, well, they're young, so all right. Or this person's more mature, I may have some expectations, but I think just paying attention to like who that individual is and just how they move, period. Because some people are just classic in terms of they are still the same way mentally that they were, when they got out of high school, right?
I can agree
Preach it,
with
Yeah.
that
Donna.
wholeheartedly.
Preach
But
it.
some
Preach
other
it.
thing too that I want to add to this is that so age is a factor, of course, but the level of accomplishment, for lack of another way of saying it, or what they do in their lives, in their professional lives, I think that contributes as well, because I will say this, I've not been that woman that is like, well, why are you able to do this? Why are we blah, 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 blah? Because I have a professional life, as you all
Well, you know
are
what? Speaking of
familiar.
professional life, we got to make a
Yes,
professional
we
adjustment. We
do.
got to make a shift, and it's called a break. So when we come back from this break, we're going to talk
Mhm.
some more. If you're like me, you're taking notes because Carol's giving nuggets too. By the way, right? So
Copious notes.
Two, you sound
Yeah.
surprised.
Copious.
Family, stay with us because we'll be right back, okay?
I remember this one moment. I ran to kind of the water edge, and my mom said something along the lines of like, now it's your turn. Take that first step. When I became a mom myself, I feel like my whole world changed. There's some light within her that makes me continue to do the climate science work that I do. You don't have to be a climate scientist to want to protect the earth. As moms, we care about our children and the environment they grow up in. And for Mia, I want you to know that I worked really hard to be a part of the change and to make it a better place for you.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Tell me about it. Did you have any idea that was going on?
None. I mean, you saw Derek at the game last night too. Did you have a clue?
No, but teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do. Kids hear first about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
It can be hard to tell sometimes, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, bullying, violence, anything, you need to tell an adult. Mom or me, a teacher, coach, school counselor, someone you know and trust.
Dad, no kid is gonna tell an adult about that kind of stuff.
I get it, but if we don't know, we can't help. Speaking up about a problem, that's what helping a friend is all about.
A lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
We're often influenced by what we see or hear on social media. Beware of disinformation campaigns targeting Black communities by using cultural issues to incite divisions, spread false information, and negatively influence public opinions. We're in this together, and together we can stay informed and empowered. Learn more at nbcit.org. This public service announcement is from the National Black Cultural Information Trust.
I'll be here to hear what's on your mind. Take this time to talk and get it right. You know I'll be there all your life. When you need me, I'll be by your side. By your side. And every day is a different day. Everything is in everything. Even when you think different way, towards a different path. All you gotta do is sit and ask. When you need me, I'll be by your side.
When the adults in a child's life talk early and often about the dangers of underage drinking, the message gets stronger every time.
I'll be by your side.
Talk. They hear you.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Hey there, family. Welcome back. You're tuned in to Love and Life on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, on air and online at wordradio.com. That's WURDradio.com.
You already know what the shenanigans are about to be. I can see it all over your face, Carol. Look. If you're just now checking us out, we're talking about, men and women and how we navigate and certain perspectives that we have on, where the value systems are, right? The value propositions that we bring to the table, what we bring to the table, and, just trying to understand one another a little bit better. And Carol was sharing with us just how, we shouldn't be so general in our assumptions around certain attitudes or belief systems when it comes to introductions and things of that nature, because
Don't you
were
put
talking
words
about
in Carol's mouth.
no
Do not do so.
I am describing what Carol mentioned
No,
earlier
Carol did
as
not
being
say.
the influences that you had, right, and how you grew up and how they are different from what Bruce brought up initially as what his experience has been.
Carol did not say to you, do
Did
not
I say
be so
different?
general. Yes, you did. Carol was just saying that we should not be so. No, she did not. So what Carol was doing was asking for specific information. That's what she did.
You heard that part right, though.
Yes.
Specific.
Yes.
Specific.
She did
Okay.
not say to you that you should not. I mean, in any other conversation, you may very well be as specific, as general or specific as you please. But as it pertains to this conversation, Carol would just like to know, what age group, about what age group are we talking? And also the level of, the professional lives, like how I think, and I'm only saying this because I think it plays a part. I do think it plays a part, and it can be a young woman who has a company of her own, who has little time, or it can be, a not so young woman. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, as you said, age is not a number. But
you was asking those questions, so I was like, well,
Carol. So I'll say this, and this is just Bruce's experience.
Yes.
I don't, and I've dated both older and younger women. There's not a real difference in the age range. I just think it just might be this generation, as to like what it is, like what we see. That plays a part in it. But, now mindset is one thing, right? But how you go about everything else, I think it's pretty much still, the same thing. And I'm sure you're on social media, so you see the comments that are on some of these posts and whatnot. It's hilarious, I think, in my opinion.
I send Donovan stuff all the time, don't I? I send him all kinds of stuff.
So Carol, so it's funny, right? So the comments that you see on those posts, or even if you tune into a live video or even some of the podcasts, it's the same thing, but it's like I can identify with it because it's been my experience.
This is Carol sitting with
Well, what kind of experiences have you had, Donovan?
What kind of experiences have I had?
Yes.
Many. I mean, I don't know if we have enough time, not to put myself out like that.
Share some with us.
No, I mean, piggybacking off of what Bruce mentioned in terms of the the what do you call it? The fruit, right? Here's the fruits of it, right? The fruit is that, you may earn a certain amount of money, right? The fruit is you may be able to go to certain places and spaces, right? And enjoy a certain kind of lifestyle. Um, the fruit being you may even also just enjoy, like you said, it's not everything that's money related. It could be just enjoying the conversation, the dialogue, the kind of peace that you may bring into that space because you may be in a certain place in your life, right? You can have a conversation with someone, and because of what they've achieved or the kind of preparation that they've had, right, the kind of work they've done on themselves, you get to also that's another fruit you get to enjoy, but that takes time. So, for instance, if if you're expecting, maybe here's a good one, right? If you're expecting a call or a text first thing in the morning, and it may be a little bit later, it may be because of the things that I do in preparation versus the things that you might expect that I may be doing, right? I may actually be doing some level of prayer or meditation, or I may go straight into a couple of Zooms back to back before I actually reach out to you and say X, Y, and Z. Well, there's a reason for that, right? Because there's certain things that I do in my regiment that's gotten me to this place in my life. And I think the the effort to be more transparent about what those things are sometimes gets lost. I think sometimes it gets lost. Not saying
Okay.
all the time, but
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
sometimes it gets lost. Does
I
that make
didn't get the
sense?
experience in there. I got some you see if maybe some hypotheticals in there. I didn't really get an experience from you. But
So
what I will say to this is that
Okay,
um
Barbara Walters.
no, I'm
uh,
no. Well now,
No, that's
so what I
actually
will
no. That
say
but
is
hold on.
that
But
well no,
that is actually an experience, though. No, you
is it
missed it. No,
really?
no, that is actually an experience where
Okay.
it's like, hey, you know, it seems like I'm the only one that says like, good morning actually at
Okay.
morning time, or you get to me when you
That's an
get to me, and I'm
experience.
like, but no, that's actually no. This is my regiment. This is what I
yeah.
do,
But
and
see,
at this
here's the
point is
thing.
when I'm actually in that social
See,
space of shooting a text or making a call or something like that. For me,
social space.
yeah, social
Yeah.
space, because I'm out here hunting. I got to
Mhm.
first thing in the morning is it's hunting, not
So let me tell
the
you.
other.
Okay, what I know when you're interested in someone, you're hunting. What I know is when a man wants me, when a man has an interest in me, he makes me aware. He lets me know. What I also know, and don't misunderstand me, because I know we all have regimens. We have different things that we do. Even if it's somebody's just sleeping, that's a regimen. That's something that they do. So I know people do what they do. So I get that. But I also know that we make time for that which we deem important. So if you're saying to me, if well, you and I have an interest in one another, oh, okay. She's a little bothered. If you and I have an interest in one another, I'm not. I can't say. I can't speak on that experience though, because I don't look for the morning text. But because my like hours are unconventional. I've
Yeah.
got doorbells ringing. I've got
You got
clothes. So you know what
everything.
I'm going to do? I'm going to
Well,
take a second and mute myself while you two speak.
I think hey Doc, I think so when you think about that, right, going back to the regimen, you know, I'll use me personally, my mornings might begin at a 5 a.m.
Hmm.
And the type of industry that I'm in, anything can jump off at that moment. So while I might be thinking about it, I don't get around to doing it, that good morning text, or if you call, I can't
Right.
pick up the phone,
Yeah.
in that moment. And if it's you've called me a couple of times, during a certain time frame, I can't do anything at that moment. But as soon as I get a free moment, I'll call you back because that's important to me. But
Mm.
however, and I'm gonna use my Carol finger now, for some that could be problematic because it's now, seems as if you're choosing me over, I mean, you're choosing everything else over
Over
me,
me.
but it's not necessarily that. It's just I have other things that are going on in that moment in time.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and this is sticky. It's like tricky because I get what you're saying, and I understand the scenarios. I've heard. I'm not the person to do the talking, but I'm definitely the one to do the listening. So I've heard, I've heard those stories and those scenarios. So I get that. I definitely do get that, and I know sometimes I myself haven't been available to respond in certain circumstances. But I think it all just boils down to those people not being the right people for you.
I
because
agree.
because when you have the right
Yeah.
person, you're talking about your life, you're sharing your life with that individual, and you're either accepting or not accepting of what that person is bringing to the table.
Mm. I think, and I'm gonna just put this out there, equally yoked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Equally yoked means a whole lot. It's just not one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's in terms of goals, right? Life goals, career goals, responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding, in that, because you can have somebody who has all of their goals, all those same goals, share those same traits that you have. But if that understanding there, I think that is, the perfect recipe for a storm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
agree.
I mean, when you talk about it being sticky, the thing to me that jumps out a lot, right? And you hear this, people make time, right? Like you said, for what they want to make time for. But you got to ask the question, like it's a simple but profound question, like what is time? Like what does time mean to you, right? What does and how does that need to be demonstrated with you, right? And so I think having that kind of conversation, and to some people that might be annoying, right? It might be like, but it's fundamental because in that conversation I actually get to learn more about what influences your definition of time, and or
Mm-hmm.
quality time, or even the pursuit or the hunt or whatever the term you're
Mhm.
throwing around. At that time you then get an opportunity to learn a little bit more about how they arrived here, and how they're seeing things. And I think one of the things that is missing is the actual time, right? In terms of the patience to actually learn those things prior to making an assessment in terms of who you're even dealing with to begin with, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. But it's also, and I agree with you. I definitely agree with patience being a key and a factor. And you reiterated, something that I said, talking about getting to know a person. Like that's you. We're talking about the same thing. We're talking about patience. We're talking about time. We're talking about getting to know an individual. I think it all has to do too with the level of maturity of the person with whom you're dealing, because if you're talking with someone, or you're trying to get to know someone who's a little immature, and you're trying to explain, well, this is my life, and I do call you when I can, and you're making every effort that you can in the time that you have available, and that person is still saying, yeah, well, I get up at so and such, and you're not calling me, or I don't get a text when blah blah blah, then that, again, we're going back to being unevenly yoked, and that person is just not for you. That person is just
I agree, right? And I'm gonna turn it up a notch here. I
uh-oh,
think
uh-oh.
that can be a hard conversation to have, because other attachments come from that, if you've been romantically involved with that person,
Mm-hmm.
or that familiarity piece, hey, I had to go learn someone all over again. Those things kind of it's hard to navigate. But I am in favor of, hey, let's take the time to get to know one another, and to even see, hey, if this is a good fit for either one of us, right? We
Mm-hmm.
should be coming into this no strings attached, right? No strings
Mm-hmm.
attached until we decide, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and decide to pull the shoestrings out. We ain't got to tie them just yet, but just pull them out so that we know that they're on play. But I think most go into these situations, and sometimes it's unknowingly, right? Because you're not thinking about it, but you're going into this and the strings are already tied before you even had an opportunity to even really introduce strings.
Mm. That's a great
Exactly.
point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a great point. I
And
tell
it's
you.
time for a PSA. It's time for a PSA. So
Wait a minute.
yeah,
Should I
it's
do the
time for.
countdown? Is
You
it? Should
sure? Let's have it. It's time. You know, yeah. Pull your pen out, your pencil, whatever you got to write with. But here's the PSA.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Before you try on that situation, pay attention to where the laces are at. If it's
Mm,
already on and the knot is
mm,
already tied, just know what you're
mm,
stepping into is pretty much it's ready to be fitted. If you
mm.
don't have those laces, then maybe you don't have to, jump in so quickly. Take your time. This PSA is done.
It's all about time.
Hopefully the listeners had their pen out, because that was a great PSA. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Donovan.
Well, I do have something to add to that, but I'm going to bring it back after our commercial break because that was so poignant and it was important. But and what I'm going to add is something as it pertains to a challenge of my own. So I'm going to share that with you.
Moment of transparency.
Now, first of all, you know I'm very transparent.
But I'm saying another moment.
You know too much of my business. But anyway, family, stay with us, okay? Because we will be right back.
I'll never forget the day I nearly died. I was a young journalist with a great career, starting a family. The only way we found out I had any kind of heart issue was when I went into sudden death. My coworkers sprung into action. They've recently been trained in life-saving CPR protocols developed by the American Heart Association. They're the ones that kept me alive until the medics came. They did many tests on me in the hospital after my cardiac arrest and created a treatment plan, all with research from the American Heart Association. I think unless you are a heart disease patient, you may not know how much work the American Heart Association does behind the scenes to save your life. Since my cardiac arrest, I've had 2 more children. I've watched all 3 of my children grow into adulthood. I'm going to cry now. Graduate from college. My daughter got married. I have grandchildren. And I'm still here.
Learn more about the American Heart Association's work at helpheart.org.
Imagine you on a deserted island all by yourself, or even being in a crowd of people yet still feeling alone. That's what being a victim of sexual assault can feel like. Victims of sexual assault are at an increased risk for developing depression, PTSD, substance abuse, eating disorders, and anxiety. Sexual assault can happen to anyone, and is any unwanted sexual contact such as unwanted touching, fondling, groping, or even rape. No always means no, so speak up and speak out. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Everyone loves a champion. Someone whose performance puts them head and shoulders above the rest. But not all champions wear a medal or hoist a trophy. At the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, we see champions everywhere we look. In every sport, on every court, we're building a foundation to ensure all athletes are safe, supported, and strengthened. We believe abuse can be prevented by taking a hard look at how we coach, how we train, and how we interact after the last whistle. We have provided over 2 million safe sport trainings. At the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, ending abuse is not just our job. It's our promise.
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is him. Every day he's hungry for something. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that he's a good person. I think the advice I would give is you don't need to know all the answers. It's okay to make mistakes. As long as it's coming from love, then it kind of starts to work itself out.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tanya Hopkins, aka The Food Griot, the host of Savory and Sweet, a new show about food, history, and culture. Savory and Sweet is a flavorful exploration of food, marinated in the Black experience, seared with history and braised in culture. Each week, I'll fold in conversations that center food and drink at the intersection of business, health and well-being, entertainment, education, and innovation, while separating the facts from fiction on the sometimes surprising origins of what we eat and drink. So join me, the Food Griot, and special guests for Savory and Sweet, Food, History, and Culture every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. exclusively on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Independent Black Media.
Hey there, family. Welcome back. You are tuned in to Love and Life on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, on air and online at wordradio.com. That's WURDradio.com. And Donovan, I saw that you were about to jump in, and I said, you know what? I'm going to jump in because before the break, I said I was going to talk with you about a challenge of mine.
Yep. And
Okay?
that's why I was sitting here just waiting. Like,
I saw you. You
look,
were right in. I
was like,
you got.
okay, I'm ready. I got my stuff. I'm ready. I'm like,
you got your stuff, Bruce. Do you have your stuff too?
Here.
Look, Bruce.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, all right, hold on.
So.
Hold on.
Okay. Slow down.
Hold on. Let me get a clean page for this.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Donovan, I've been on this this path to enlightenment, and but I feel like this what used to be an issue of mine was that I would see a relationship for what I wanted it to be, and not for what it really was. So that was a fault of mine. That I must say, that was a hard lesson. That was a very hard lesson for me. But I say this because I believe that a lot of women have a tendency to do that. I don't know. I can't speak for a man. This is family, so I don't want you to come at me. I'm saying this because I'm saying I believe a lot of women have a tendency to do this. I cannot ever speak from the male's point of view, but I believe that we have a tendency to do this. And I say this because there's certain ideals that are told to us, certain things that we believe, being in a relationship should be, or certain ways that we believe being in a relationship should be. I mean, you already heard me say, I had a lot of women in my family and they said this and they said that, blah, blah, blah. So I have a lot of beliefs from having listened to them, but that wasn't one thing they gave me. That I don't know from where that came. Came. I got that on my own, but it was a problem for me. It was definitely a challenge for me, having seen the relationships of my past for what I wanted them to be and not for what they truly were.
Yeah, go ahead, Bruce. I know Bruce was about to say something out there. Let me just go ahead and he's our guest.
I'm just gonna say this. I don't think you are alone.
Okay.
And that I think that's a lot of what still happens today.
As it pertains to women, not men and women.
No, not from me. Not from me. And I don't think from men either.
Just women.
From women. Not for what it is. Because sometimes we men are in relationships and we don't know it. We have to hear from somebody else.
Not just you.
I mean,
that's not just y'all.
I'm just speaking from personal experience.
Me too.
When the pet names start, I'm like, wait a minute now. This is a little bit too familiar. We act a little too familiar. Let's dial it back.
You don't want to be Boo or Bay?
No, we didn't have that conversation. Because I'm probably not going to say it back. I'm going to call you your name. Or I might call you an abbreviated name or something. But, when you're saying like boo, bae, honey, and all those things,
let's talk about that.
That's romance there, in my opinion.
That's facts.
Do you think that some women automatically give you like a pet name once you've been physical? Once sex has been introduced into the relationship, do they automatically go there?
I think there's just some other dopamine that just goes off and just say, "Yep, he's mine. He's mine." And I will say this because some men are like that too. They get once they're intimately involved, then everything just goes haywire. But that's not everybody. But more than likely, from my experiences, that's when the pet names start.
I would like to know from the two of you, from both of you, what would you say has been the most challenging? I'm going to say challenging for lack of another way or another word of experience you've had with a woman.
Ooh, that's a loaded question.
Oh, is it?
It is, because I think they've all come with their different challenges. And when I say all, meaning there have been a lot of challenges, but some, you can rate medium, low, or high. Right?
Yeah. What was most challenging for you?
I think
that's what I'm asking.
I'll jump on on this mine. that you said.
No.
It's okay.
No.
It's okay. I know, but I got to do this. I
into it.
gotta do this. So I think the number one thing, it's okay. I just tell my family I love them. So I think the number one thing, the number one challenge is being able to say, but I'm me. Like, I'm not him. I'm not them. I'm not that past trauma, that past whatever that you experience. I'm me, and I understand. And I think at the end of the day, being able to say, I still want to be here, but you still need to do some work. So I think that the biggest challenge is knowing when to fold them, knowing when to be like, you know what, this is, maybe you just need to kind of go back to the lab, so to speak, and really break down where it went wrong, right? And give me my just desserts, so to speak, in terms of like seeing me, like you said, in terms of relationships, seeing things for what you want them to be versus what they are. I think the biggest challenge I had was seeing me for me versus me for being the latest episode in your show, or the latest chapter in your book that already has a theme, right? So
Gotcha.
if I'm breaking the theme, if you actually get to know me, right, it doesn't matter because you're still locked into your theme. You're committed to your theme. So you're going to see all of this a certain kind of way because you haven't done the work. So that's my biggest challenge.
Yeah. I think, Don, I think that's great, because I think that's a lot of like what you experience, today, just in dating. Dating is really a roller coaster. And I'm talking about not the steel roller coasters,
that
the
wooden
wood
one.
roller coaster, because the wood roller coasters are going to give you them headaches, although you're going up and down, not round and around, but it's they'll give you a headache. But Carol, to your question, I think, for me, young lady I was dating, in my late 20s, about to approach 30, we were, on our way, and I would have married her. I'll say that I would have married her. However, there were things that she had not accomplished, and that she wanted to accomplish. And I said, hey, I think we're both still trying to accomplish some things. Let's work on a plan. Let's lay out what we're trying to do. Let's lay out your goals. Let's lay out my goals, and let's lay out our collective goals. And, to her, she just couldn't see that because she just saw marriage right then and there. And I said, you are sacrificing, your goals just to want to be married. Right. And I think, you'll do yourself a disservice. I think when we get into relationships, when you're dealing with somebody, you're so willing to sacrifice your own personal goals. And, when you do that, you miss out on so much. And then you're 5-10 years later just saying, I wish I would have. So, ultimately that didn't work out, for us, because I said, this isn't going to work because, you're pressing something, and our, what we have going on, it was very good. We were progressing, and this was a long distance relationship. I was going back and forth to, going back and forth to Atlanta to see her. I just gave her up so she hears this episode. She knows me. She knows her we're talking about. But, one of the things, what she came back to me and said was, you were right. I was wrong in trying to push things, when we had something great that was going on. But because of my selfish views, I missed out on something good. So that was the biggest challenge for me, is just trying to get us aligned on our goals, accomplish what we're both trying to do. We both were in school, right? And I was in mortuary school at that time, and she was working on a master's degree. And I'm like, hey, school's a lot. But she just couldn't see beyond that. And like now she's life has happened, for both of us. We have on our different paths, and, it's just happened. So I think that was a big challenge there.
No reconciliation there.
No, and this is probably a trait of mine. Once I'm done, I'm done. There's no spinning the block over here.
Are you a Scorpio?
I'm a Capricorn, the best that never did it.
Well,
we
I'm
end
a
the year
Scorpio.
and we begin the year. So,
you guys are
Capricorn,
Capricorn, then Scorpio, and then at the top, of course, Libra. But I mean, we're at the tail end of this. Yeah, this is Libra season, by the way. And, should be the only season. But
happy birthday to you! How about that?
Happy belated birthday, Don.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
First of all, I'm so involved in this conversation, but family, we have to get ready to go.
Yeah.
OMG, I cannot believe the time has gone
is
by
it?
so quick. This is it.
We got to
I
do a part
know.
2, man, because we
We
hardly
have
even
to.
skimmed the surface.
Really?
I mean, you know what? There's a lot of conversation that we left off the table, and I don't know if
so
it was
much.
intentionally or unintentionally. I think, Donovan, I think, we stepped on Carol's landmine. She steered us in a direction she wanted us to go. And she didn't even tell us. So, Carol, that was well played.
Well done.
What? I have something for the two of you. Family, listen, have a great night, have a great morning, and have a great rest of your day. Make sure you join us at midnight, Sunday through Thursday, for another edition of Love and Life on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. Good night, y'all.
Stand with WURD Radio, Pennsylvania's only black-owned talk radio station. Join the movement to keep the conversations going and amplify the voice of the black community. Show your support. Start or renew your WURD membership today at wordradio.com or call 215-425-7875.
A lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. And I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? Now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player for the Indianapolis Colts. Becoming a running back was no easy task for me. But it's nothing compared to what my amazing mom faces every day. My mom was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy when I was 14 years old. Yet she's always there for me, every step of the way, despite her own battles. And the Muscular Dystrophy Association is there for my mom. At their 150 care centers across the U.S., MDA is the leading organization in research and care for kids and adults with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and related neuromuscular diseases. Their research is helping find cures and save lives. Watching my mom go through her daily struggles and the care she receives from MDA has made me determined to help find a cure for neuromuscular disease. That is why I support MDA, and that's why I'm so grateful to others who do too. Join me and learn more at helpmda.org today.
I remember this one moment. I ran to kind of the water edge, and my mom said something along the lines of like, now it's your turn. Take that first step. When I became a mom myself, I feel like my whole world changed. There's some light within her that makes me continue to do the climate science work that I do. You don't have to be a climate scientist to want to protect the earth. As moms, we care about our children and the environment they grow up in. And for Mia, I want you to know that I worked really hard to be a part of the change and to make it a better place for you.
Imagine you on a deserted island all by yourself, or even being in a crowd of people yet still feeling alone. That's what being a victim of sexual assault can feel like. Victims of sexual assault are at an increased risk for developing depression, PTSD, substance abuse, eating disorders, and anxiety. Sexual assault can happen to anyone and is any unwanted sexual contact such as unwanted touching, fondling, groping, or even rape. No always means no, so speak up and speak out. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black